The galaxy was old and vast. It followed rules that never changed. Power came from size. Survival came from technology. Mercy was a myth told to children. Across thousands of stars, alien empires rose and fell by the same laws. Build stronger weapons. Destroy enemies faster. Never hesitate. One such empire was the Ketheri Dominion. They were ancient. They were proud. Their world shined with metal cities and cold logic. Emotion was seen as weakness. Pain was something to be removed, not endured. The Ketheri believed they had mastered the universe. Until the day their sky broke. It began without warning. No enemy fleet appeared. No signal was sent. The stars around their home system simply went dark. Gravity twisted. Space bent. Their defense grids failed in seconds. A force older than any empire tore through their system. Some called it a cosmic storm. Others whispered of betrayal from within the Galactic Council. No one truly knew. Planets cracked. Moons shattered. Billions died without ever seeing their killer. One Ketheri observer watched it all from a failing orbital station. His world burned below him. His family was gone. His empire was erased in less than one cycle. For the first time in his long life, he felt fear. The Dominion had followed every rule. They had the best ships, the strongest shields, the smartest minds. Yet none of it mattered. The galaxy did not care about logic. It did not care about pride. The observer fled as the station broke apart. His escape pod drifted into the dark. Cold silence surrounded him. He waited to die. But death did not come. A passing trade convoy found him days later. Not Ketheri. Strangers. They were part of the wider galaxy. Survivors, merchants, and minor species bound by fear of the unknown force. They shared news in hushed tones. Other worlds were falling. Not just Ketheri worlds. Strong empires. Ancient powers. Something was changing. The old rules were failing. As the observer healed, he listened. He learned that the Galactic Council was afraid. They searched for scapegoats. They searched for shields. And they searched for small, weak species to stand between them and the storm. That was when he first heard the name. Humans. The word meant nothing to him. A young species. From a quiet corner of space. No great fleets. No ancient wisdom. Barely noticed by the council. Some laughed at the idea of involving them. Others suggested they would fall first and buy time. The observer felt something strange then. Not hope. Not trust. Curiosity. If the strongest empires could vanish in silence, what chance did weak ones have? Yet reports were unclear. Human worlds did not fall as expected. They suffered. They bled. But they did not vanish. They endured in ways that made no sense. The observer studied old human data. Their history was full of pain, wars, loss, near extinction again and again. By every galactic rule, they should have destroyed themselves long ago. But they were still there. The escape pod drifted closer to human space as the convoy changed course. The storm followed behind them, slow and unstoppable. The observer felt the fear return. But beneath it was something worse. A question the galaxy was not ready to answer. What if the rules were wrong? What if survival did not belong to the strongest? As the first human star appeared ahead, the observer saw strange signals on his screen. Not weapons. Not shields. Something else. And whatever it was, the storm reacted to it. Human space did not look powerful. There were no giant battle stations. No glowing walls of energy around their stars. The Ketheri observer noticed this at once. Human systems looked fragile, messy, uneven. Alien standards would call them unfinished. Yet the storm slowed when it reached human borders. No one understood why. The Galactic Council sent probes first, then scouts, then observers like him. Their task was simple. Watch how humans die. Learn something useful before it was too late. But humans did not die the right way. The storm struck a human colony world on the edge of their space. Cities burned. Oceans boiled. Millions were lost in hours. By galactic law, this was the end. A species hit this hard should collapse. Panic should spread. Systems should fall apart. That did not happen. Human signals exploded across the system. Not screams. Not pleas. Orders. Plans. Warnings. Ships that should have fled moved closer to the danger. Small ships. Old ships. Civilian ships. They broke apart under the storm. Again and again. The observer felt confusion. Then disbelief. Humans knew they would die. They went anyway. Alien minds could not process this. Other species avoided loss at all cost. They saved fleets. They saved leaders. Humans did not. They saved time. Every human death slowed the storm by seconds. Every destroyed ship changed its path by a fraction. Tiny changes. Useless by normal thinking. But humans kept going. They rebuilt defenses while under attack. They changed plans mid-failure. They learned while bleeding. Pain did not stop them. It pushed them forward. The observer studied human history deeper. He saw a pattern the galaxy had ignored. Humans were born on a violent world. Their planet tried to kill them every day. Storms, fire, cold, disease. Other species evolved to avoid pain. Humans evolved inside it. Loss did not end their stories. It started them. When humans failed, they did not freeze. They adapted. Fast. Brutally. The storm struck a second human world. Worse than the first. The council waited for collapse. Instead, humans changed tactics. They abandoned perfect defense. They stopped trying to win. They focused on surviving one more moment. They spread out. They hid in places no advanced species would choose. Asteroid fields. Dead orbits. Radiation zones. Humans accepted damage as normal. Accepting pain gave them freedom. The observer felt a deep unease. Alien science had never measured this trait. No data field existed for it. Stubbornness. Endurance. The refusal to stop. The storm reacted again. It shifted. It hesitated. As if confused by prey that would not flee. Human engineers did not ask if something was safe. They asked if it would work once. That was enough. The observer realized the truth too late. The galaxy had judged humans by their tools. Their ships. Their weapons. It had missed the real danger. Humans did not fight to survive. They survived in order to fight. As the storm gathered strength for a final push, the observer received a classified alert. Human forces were preparing something new. Not a weapon. Not a shield. A response built from failure itself. And for the first time since losing his world, the observer felt something stronger than fear. He felt dread. The storm did not wait. It never waited. After studying human space, it struck with full force. Not one world. Not two. Many. Human stars went dark across entire sectors. Satellites failed. Gates collapsed. Supply lines vanished. From the view of the Galactic Council, this was the end. No species could survive this level of damage. Human fleets were small, scattered, outdated. The storm tore through them without mercy. Ships were crushed. Stations were erased. Millions died. Then millions more. The Ketheri observer watched from a safe distance. His new task was clear. Record the collapse. Learn what not to be. At first, it looked simple. Human command structures failed. Central control vanished. Entire regions went silent. Alien logic said this was chaos. Chaos meant defeat. But something strange happened. Human resistance did not end. It changed. Without orders, human groups acted on instinct. Small units. Broken fleets. Isolated worlds. They did not retreat together. They did not defend together. They survived separately. Each group fought its own war, using whatever remained. A mining ship became a shield. A cargo station became a trap. A dying planet became bait. The storm adapted. But humans adapted faster. The observer saw human crews working in vacuum without proper suits. They knew the risk. They accepted it. Pain was normal to them. Loss was expected. Human worlds sent no surrender signals. No calls for mercy. Instead, short messages spread across human space. Simple words. Clear meaning. Hold. Endure. Do not stop. The storm struck Earth itself. Not fully, but enough to test it. Cities burned. Oceans shifted. The planet screamed. Alien analysts waited for panic. For collapse. They were wrong again. Earth did not unite in fear. It united in anger. Humans had lost before. They remembered how it felt. They remembered how to keep going. Factories restarted under fire. Old machines were pulled from storage. Broken ideas were reused. Human science stopped chasing perfection. They chased results. If something failed, they learned. If it killed them, they learned faster. The observer saw reports that made no sense. Human ships surviving direct storm contact for seconds longer each time. Then minutes. Not because of stronger shields. Because crews changed how they flew. How they timed. How they sacrificed parts of their ships to save the rest. The storm fed on stability. On order. Humans offered it none. The galaxy began to worry. Human losses were massive. Unacceptable by alien standards. But humans did not measure success the same way. They measured progress. Every death taught them something. Every failure sharpened them. The storm slowed again. Not by force. By resistance. The observer felt something twist inside him. This was not survival. This was defiance. Human space looked broken, burned, ruined. Yet it refused to fall silent. As the storm pulled back to gather strength, the Galactic Council made a choice. A final solution. They would end humanity quickly. Overwhelming force. No restraint. The observer received the transmission moments later. All remaining fleets were being redirected toward human space. Every rule would be used. Every limit removed. Humanity would be erased in one strike. The observer looked at the damaged stars ahead. At the wounded species that refused to kneel. And he understood something terrible. If humans survived what was coming, the galaxy would never be the same again. The galaxy prepared to end it. The Galactic Council spoke with one voice. Cold. Certain. Human space was declared lost. No rescue. No negotiation. Every major fleet turned toward human stars. Ancient empires. Perfect formations. Weapons tested for thousands of years. This was not war. It was removal. From the outside, humanity looked finished. Their worlds were scarred. Their fleets shattered. Their numbers broken beyond repair. Alien analysts shared the same conclusion. Humans had nothing left. The Ketheri observer listened as commanders laughed. Not with joy. With relief. The storm had weakened everyone. But humans had suffered the most. By galactic logic, they should beg. They should hide. They should vanish. Instead, human space went quiet. No large signals. No mass fleets. No clear targets. Alien sensors saw only ruins and debris. The Council assumed the worst. Human resistance had finally ended. They were wrong. Humans had not gone silent. They had gone small. Scattered groups moved without patterns. No central command. No predictable routes. They abandoned rules the galaxy depended on. Human ships did not protect leaders. They did not protect cities. They protected moments. One more minute. One more chance. Alien fleets advanced carefully. Too carefully. They feared traps. They feared ambush. Humans used that fear. Old stations drifted into fleet paths. Disabled ships exploded at the right time. Gravity wells were disturbed by deliberate crashes. Nothing about it looked advanced. It looked desperate. But it worked. Alien formations broke to avoid damage. Perfect lines turned uneven. Human strikes came then. Fast. Close. They did not aim to destroy fleets. They aimed to slow them. Each delay cost the galaxy fuel. Time. Confidence. The Ketheri observer noticed something worse. Alien commanders began arguing. Blame spread. Doubt grew. Humans did not need to win battles. They only needed the enemy to hesitate. The Council pushed harder. They demanded speed. Total force. Entire systems were burned to flush humans out. Human losses were massive. Again. Still, no surrender came. Human signals continued. Short. Rough. They did not speak of victory. They spoke of endurance. Humans were fighting a war the galaxy did not understand. The storm returned. Drawn by the chaos. Drawn by broken order. Alien fleets were caught between it and human traps. For the first time, Council ships were lost in large numbers. Not to human weapons. To their own rigidity. The observer felt the shift. The balance was changing. Humanity was still bleeding. Still burning. But they were shaping the battlefield. The galaxy began to realize a truth it hated. Humans could not be crushed quickly. They absorbed pain and kept moving. They lost worlds and kept fighting. They were not strong. They were stubborn. And stubbornness did not run out like fuel. As the final fleets closed in on Earth's system, confidence returned to the Council. One strike. One end. Human space would break at its heart. The observer watched the data stream closely. Then he saw something that made his breath stop. Human ships were not forming a defense. They were leaving. Not fleeing. Positioning. Around the storm. Around the fleets. Around something the galaxy had not noticed yet. The observer understood too late. Humans were not trying to survive the final attack. They were preparing to use it. The final attack began as the galaxy expected. Alien fleets closed in on Earth's system from every direction. Perfect lines. Perfect timing. The storm followed behind them like a shadow. Drawn by energy. Drawn by order. The Galactic Council believed this was control. They believed they were forcing the end. Human space looked empty. No great fleets waited. No defensive wall formed. To alien eyes, it was surrender. The Kethari observer felt the lie before he saw it. Human ships were moving, but not toward the enemy, not toward Earth. They moved sideways, around gravity wells, along broken orbits. Each ship was small, damaged, barely holding together. Alien commanders ignored them. They were not threats. They were debris. That was the mistake. Humans were not preparing to fight the fleets. They were preparing the space around them. Old satellites were pushed into unstable paths. Asteroids were cracked and nudged by engines meant for mining. Dead stations were dragged closer to stars. Nothing fired. No weapons charged. Alien sensors reported no attack. The Council advanced faster. Then the storm hit the trap. Human ships triggered everything at once. Gravity shifted. Orbits collapsed. Debris fields turned into moving walls. Alien fleets tried to react. They could not. Their ships were built for clean space, for clear paths, for predictable movement. Human space was no longer clean. Ships collided. Formations broke. Commands lagged. The storm surged forward, confused by the chaos. It fed on energy spikes, on order collapsing into noise. Alien shields failed as power systems overloaded. Not from attack, from stress. Humans did not fire a single missile. They did not use lasers. They used time. Every second mattered. Every delay multiplied the damage. Human ships died in waves, crushed by gravity, torn apart by debris. They did not retreat. They stayed where they were needed most. Each sacrifice tightened the trap. The observer understood then. This was the weapon, not a machine, not a device, a choice. Humans had studied the storm. They learned it reacted to structure, to order. So they removed order. They made the battlefield so broken that nothing could move cleanly. Not the storm, not the fleets. Alien commanders panicked. They tried to pull back. They could not. Their fleets were too large, too connected. Human forces had already accepted loss. They had nothing left to protect. Earth itself powered down large systems. Cities went dark. Signals went silent. The storm slowed, then faltered. It could not feed. Alien fleets were trapped between collapsing space and a force that no longer recognized them as targets. The Galactic Council issued retreat orders. Too late. Entire armadas were lost without a single human shot fired. The storm drifted away, weakened and confused, leaving wreckage behind. Human space was ruined, scorched, broken, but it still existed. The observer stared at the data in disbelief. This victory made no sense by galactic rules. Humans had turned weakness into control, pain into leverage. They had won by refusing to fight the way everyone else did. As silence spread across the system, one final transmission reached the Council. Not a threat, not a demand, a warning. The galaxy had survived humans. This time. But now it knew something it could never forget. Humans would burn their own worlds before they surrendered. And next time, they would not be underestimated again. The war ended without celebration. There were no victory signals, no parades, no grand speeches. Human space was quiet. Entire systems were gone. Worlds were empty scars. Debris drifted where cities once lived. By every measure, humanity had lost more than it had saved. The Galactic Council survived. But it was broken. Ancient fleets were destroyed. Old empires weakened. Trust between species shattered. The storm was gone, for now. No one knew where it had gone. No one wanted to find out. The Council gathered in silence. They reviewed the data again and again. No lasers. No missiles. No advanced weapon. Just humans. Human choices confused every model. They accepted losses that no other species would. They destroyed their own assets without hesitation. They did not try to protect everything. They chose what mattered. Survival. Alien scientists rewrote their theories. Psychologists added new warnings. Military academies changed their training. A new rule was added to every strategic file. Never corner humans. Because when humans had nothing left, they became most dangerous. The Kethari observer was given a choice. Return to the Council, or remain near human space as a permanent watcher. He chose to stay, not out of loyalty, out of understanding. He studied human recovery. It was slow, painful, but it never stopped. Humans rebuilt with damaged tools. They reused broken ships. They lived in ruins and called it progress. Grief did not end them. It shaped them. Children were born under dark skies. They learned early what loss meant. They learned even earlier what endurance meant. The galaxy watched from a distance. Trade routes shifted away from human borders. Not out of hate, Out of fear, no one wanted to test them again. Humans were no longer classified as weak. They were classified as unstable, unpredictable, unyielding, a category all their own. The observer reviewed old records one final time. Human history before the war. Endless conflict. Endless survival. He understood the truth then. The galaxy thought peace came from strength. Humans knew peace came from refusal to give up. They did not fear death. They feared erasure. And they would never allow it. Years later, a distant system went dark. Not human. Another empire. The storm might be moving again. The council sent out warnings. Fleets prepared. Then they hesitated. They looked toward human space. Toward the species that had survived the impossible. Humans sent no message. No promise. They did not need to. The galaxy already knew the answer. If the storm returned, humans would endure. And if the universe tried to break them again, they would break the universe's rules instead.